Imagine this: you're standing at the crossroads of destiny, watching a once dominant champion, a man who once ruled the heavyweight division with an iron fist, now staring at the ruins of his legacy. Anthony Joshua, a name that once sent shockwaves through the boxing world, now finds himself in the shadows, waiting, contemplating, and searching for the one chance that could bring him back to where he belongs. But just when the world started to believe his time was up, an unexpected twist emerged. A shocking opportunity, one that nobody saw coming, has just been laid before him, a route back to glory, a chance at redemption, and possibly his final shot at rewriting his story. But before we dive into that, let's talk about why Joshua finds himself in this position. It wasn't always like this. He was once the king, the man with the belts, the one everyone feared. The way he bulldozed his way through the division, knocking out giants and proving his worth, made him a legend. But as we all know, in boxing, legends aren't just made in victories, they're forged in defeats. And Joshua has had his fair share. Everything came crashing down last September when he took a massive risk, one that backfired spectacularly. He faced Daniel Dubois, a rising force, a young powerhouse with something to prove. Everyone thought Joshua's experience and technical skill would be enough, but Dubois was a storm that couldn't be stopped. He came into that fight with two devastating knockout wins over dangerous opponents, Jarrell Miller and Filip Hrgovic, and the momentum was on his side. When that bell rang, it was clear from the start that Joshua was in for a nightmare. He fought hard. He fought smart. But Dubois was relentless. And by the time the fifth round ended, Joshua was no longer standing. Just like that, the dream of becoming a three-time world champion had vanished. Now, let's pause for a second. I know what you're thinking. Was that the end? Was that the moment Joshua realized that the mountain was just too steep to climb again? Because that's what the world believed. After that brutal loss, he had a choice, an immediate rematch, a chance to prove that Dubois just got lucky, or a retreat into silence. And for a moment, it seemed like he wanted to run it back. But then, something happened that changed everything. Tyson Fury. The longtime rival. The fight the world has been begging for. The one that always seemed so close yet remained just out of reach. When Fury stepped into the ring against Alexander Usyk for the second time, the world held its breath. And when Usyk once again walked away victorious, it felt like the perfect setup. Finally, the stars had aligned. Fury had lost. Joshua had lost. It was the perfect time for these two warriors to collide, to settle everything once and for all in an era-defining battle. But instead, Fury did the unthinkable. He walked away. At the start of January, he announced his retirement. No build-up, no warning, just like that. The dream fight was gone. Now, here's where things get interesting. While the world was caught up in Fury's shocking exit, Daniel Dubois had his own plans. He wasn't sitting around waiting. He wanted Usyk next. He wanted to finish what he started. And that meant Joshua, once again, was left without a clear path. Until now. Out of nowhere, a new door has opened for Joshua, and it's a massive one. The WBC interim champion, Ajit Kabayel, has emerged as a legitimate option for his next fight. And let me tell you, this isn't some easy bounce-back match. Kabayel is not just a random name thrown into the mix, he's a real threat. He's on a terrifying run, knocking out every man in front of him. 5 consecutive knockouts, including dominant wins over Frank Sanchez, Arslanbek Makhmudov, and most recently, a crushing victory over Zhilei Zhang. This man is a problem, But here's the thing, Mauricio Suleiman, the president of the WBC, just dropped a bombshell. He confirmed that Caballel is looking for a fight, and Joshua is right there in the mix. Not just as a potential opponent, but as a top priority. And Suleiman made one thing crystal clear: the WBC is fully behind Joshua getting back into the title picture. He's a legend, and legends don't fade away that easily. So here we are. Joshua has been offered a route back. A real one. A fight that could put him right back into the title conversation. But here's the question: does he take it? Does he step into the fire one more time, knowing full well that Caballel is no stepping stone, but a wrecking machine ready to take him out? And if he does take it, what happens then? Can Joshua still be the Joshua of old? Can he silence the doubters, prove that he still belongs among the elite, and remind the world why he was once the king? Because make no mistake, this fight is a gamble. If he wins, he's back. If he loses, well, let's just say the road back might be gone forever. The clock is ticking, and the world is waiting. This is where legacies are decided. This is where careers are reborn or buried. And now, all eyes are on Anthony Joshua. Do you want to know what happens next? Because trust me, the real story is only just beginning. And just like that, the world holds its breath. The question isn't just whether Anthony Joshua will take this fight, it's what this fight truly represents. This isn't just another opponent. This isn't just another shot at redemption. No, this is something far bigger. This is the moment that could define everything. Think about it. We're looking at a man who has already tasted the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. A man who, at one point, had the entire boxing world in his grasp, only to watch it slip through his fingers. First, it was Andy Ruiz, an unthinkable defeat that sent shockwaves through the sport. Then it was Usyk twice, where his skills were picked apart by a master technician. And then came Daniel Dubois, the young lion who made it clear that the new generation wasn't waiting for permission to take over. Joshua has been here before. He has been counted out before. And every single time, he's managed to claw his way back. But this time feels different. There's no easy way back. No shortcuts. No guarantees. And what makes this fight even more dangerous is that it might just be his last real chance to prove that he still belongs at the top. Because let's be honest, if he loses to Ajit Caballel, if he gets knocked out again, if he finds himself flat on his back with the referee waving the fight off, where does he go from there? The answer is one nobody wants to say out loud, but it's lingering in the air like a storm cloud. Retirement. It's a word that has haunted fighters before him. A word that has forced legends to look in the mirror and ask themselves the one question no warrior ever wants to face: is it over? And if Joshua falls here, if he lets this opportunity slip away, it won't just be another loss. It will be the moment the world starts to move on. The moment the conversation shifts from when will Joshua be champion again, to how will we remember Anthony Joshua's career. But let's flip the script for a second. Let's talk about the other possibility. Let's talk about what happens if Joshua steps into that ring, stares down Caballel, and does what so many are starting to believe he can't do anymore. What if he wins? Not just wins, but dominates. What if we see a version of Joshua that we haven't seen in years, the powerful, explosive, undeniable force that once ran through the heavyweight division? What if he walks into that ring, shatters the doubts, and leaves with his hand raised, sending a message to the entire boxing world that he isn't done yet? Because if that happens, everything changes. The moment that final bell rings and Joshua stands victorious, the entire heavyweight landscape shifts. Suddenly, he's not just another contender. Suddenly, his name is in the mix again. And that means options, big ones. Let's talk about what that could look like. First, there's the WBC picture. Beating Caballero means Joshua now holds serious leverage in the division. The WBC would have no choice but to push him toward a title shot. And who's holding the undisputed throne right now? Alexander Usyk. Yes, the same Usyk who took Joshua's belts and beat him twice. But here's the twist. Usyk isn't invincible. We saw that when Tyson Fury fought him. We saw that there are moments where he can be hurt, where he can be pushed. And if Joshua somehow claws his way back into position, who's to say the third time isn't the charm? Who's to say that Joshua, with the right adjustments, the right training, and the right hunger, can't finally get his revenge? And if not Usyk, well, there's another name lurking in the background. One that refuses to go away. One that has unfinished business with Joshua. Deontay Wilder. That's the fight fans have wanted for years. Two of the hardest-hitting heavyweights of this era finally colliding. A fight that would bring the world to a standstill. And guess what? If Joshua beats Caballero, if he puts himself back into the mix, that fight becomes very, very real. But none of this matters if he doesn't win. None of this matters if he can't remind the world of who he used to be. So, the question now isn't just whether Joshua will take this fight. The question is, who is Anthony Joshua in 2025? Is he still the warrior who once reigned over the heavyweight division? Or is he the man whose best days are behind him? The man who will forever be remembered as what could have been? The decision is his. The battle is coming. And when the lights shine down, when the first bell rings, and when the first punch is thrown, the world will be watching. Because this isn't just another fight. This is the fight that will decide everything.